like being near in a jungle.
It's jungle out there. It's jungle out
Good morning and welcome to the Vashon Island Unitarian Universalists. My name is Donna Klemke and I'll be your service leader today. If you're visiting, please participate as you feel comfortable, and you're invited to stay and introduce yourself in conversation when we have our snacks after the service. Our congregation is committed to individual freedom of belief, welcomes diversity, seeks to promote a sense of community, and fosters religion which enriches the soul. We're mostly a lay-led community, strengthened and enriched by weaving together the volunteer contributions of members and friends. Our community is also privileged to be guided by our minister, Reverend Victoria Poling, who's here just on the second Sunday of the month. So if this is your first time here, it's worth coming back. As we begin our service, please take a couple of breaths to become fully present. Relax and bring your attention into this moment of communal reflection and sharing. We acknowledge that we are on the traditional homelands of the Swabash Coast Salish Native people. The Puyallup people have lived on and stewarded these lands since the beginning of time, and they continue to do so today. We recognize that this land acknowledgement is one small step towards true allyship, and we commit to uplifting the voices, experiences, and histories of the indigenous people of this land and beyond. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived here, you belong here.
In the spirit of invitation, we say, welcome to your joy, your hope, your pride. We say welcome to your grief, your fear, and your anger. And the parts of you that are not yet ready to be seen and heard, welcome to them as well. Let's take a moment to relax and be present. I invite you to uncross your legs if they already are, and take a few deep breaths. If you're comfortable, close your eyes and relax you and hold you. Imagine that you have just received an invitation. You feel pleased and honored to receive it. Take that in. Feel the sweetness of being gifted. Feel the love embedded in the invitation, the intimacy of it. And notice now that you are invited to live into the invitation. It's not to go to a party, but instead you're invited to be in this world differently. This is an invitation to live your life in a way that you have not truly known. Allow this surprise to envelop you, to open you in ways that support your feeling loving, kind, and deeply beautiful, inside and out. Take a few final deep, relaxing breaths and open your eyes when you feel comfortable.
As Reverend Victoria said in our first service this year, the UUA has monthly themes. Excuse me. Let's enjoy the interlude.
Am I doing something now?
We invite you to.
Good morning, everybody. There's nothing in the program. However, make your getaway, darling. Ride the midnight bus. Leave all that struggle and snarling. Come on back to us. Got your favorite meal in the freezer. It's hidden way down in the back. I've got one cold beer for a teaser and a cup with your name in the back. Make your getaway, darling. Ride the midnight bus. Leave all that struggle and snarling. Come on back to us. Hearts dance like moths in the kitchen, just feeling their way to the light. I know you're out there somewhere, keeping me awake all night. Make your getaway, darling. Ride the midnight bus. Leave all that struggle and snarling. Come on back to us. I've grown so scared of loving, how far it all goes wrong. Sometimes it's worth the losing for a chance to sing the song. Make your getaway, darling. Ride the midnight bus. Leave all that struggle and snarling. Come on back to us. Leave all that struggle and snarling. Come on back to us.
I think that was an invitation, to be agile and flexible. So here we are. Thank you, Kat. So I'll start again here. As Reverend Victoria said in our first service this year, the UUA has monthly themes. This month the theme is invitation, as the poster that Vicki made is on the wall to remind us. For every church year, there's also an overarching theme, something that ties these monthly themes together. This year, the overarching theme is a lived faith. The idea is that this month, we don't just define invitation. We're invited to ask, how is my life, my inner wisdom, calling me to weave this practice into my daily living? Today, 4 of us on the Mystery and Wonder team are going to talk about invitations that have been especially meaningful for us and have become something that we weave into our daily lives. And I'm the first person up. I'm thinking of invitation as something we can offer ourselves. An invitation to think deeply about something that we want to learn, something we want to grow in us, and something we want to live more fully in our lives. My husband, Martin Baker, passed almost 2 years ago. His passing has been an invitation for me to harvest this great loss, to reflect on and learn from the relationship we had, and to learn from his process of dying. Through all of the grief, I have thought deeply about who I am and how I want to be in this world. The word I've used is harvest. How can I harvest this experience to reflect as deeply as I can, to learn from it, and to grow how I want to be in the rest of my life? What I've thought about most in this harvesting process is love. Martin's passing has invited me to think deeply about love, and that is the invitation I'd like to offer you today, to consider love. What is love? How do we offer it, receive it? What does it require of us in relationship? And how do we want to love in this life we have? I think that I've mostly felt love without words or language. But in my reflection of love since Martin's passing, I have read poetry, essays, books that all use words to describe love. Reflection puts love into words, and this has been a different internal process for me. Some of these words, like adoration, I can't identify with. Others, like union, devotion, jolt me to a new perspective. Many others, like deep affection, tenderness, warmth, fondness, affirm feelings of love that I have. When I think about how I want to practice love in my life, I have added other words: commitment, loyalty, patience, acceptance, openness. And the most powerful short definition of love I have found is that love is ultimate kindness. What does this mean to me? It means other words not often found in the usual definitions of love. To me, it means supportive, generous, gentle, caring. It is taking the love in your heart and giving it away to another. Importantly, this is offered without any expectation for praise in return. Love is ultimate kindness. It's my hope that I can live this in my life. I've learned a great deal about myself and have also been wondering a lot about Martin's and my relationship. We've been so compatible in our lives, a real treasure. But Martin and I have also been very different. He lived as an introvert. He also went through the process of reconciliation, of leaving this life as an introvert. That has been hard for me and has a lot to do with my accepting the invitation to learn from his passing. I have struggled with the quiet, internal, very private way he chose to lead me through his dying process. Something Rainer Maria Rilke wrote is one of the most important things that has given me insight into my role as Martin's partner. It has also given me insight into love. Rilke wrote, "I hold this to be the highest task of a bond between two people, that each should stand guard over the solitude of the other." I'm going to read it again, because I hold this to be the highest task of a bond between two people, that each should stand guard over the solitude of the other. When I first read this, I was shocked, but I grew to a new perspective, that this was my role in the way Martin chose to move through his illness and dying. It was also how I loved him through it. He moved through it in a certain kind of solitude, in a place where he could connect exclusively with himself, honoring his self. And he trusted me to travel this path with him, not questioning, not pressing him to talk about it. I know that introverts are recharged by spending time alone. I also know it is in moments of aloneness that each of us can reflect on our lives when we evaluate where we stand in the grand scheme of things. I imagine that this was where Martin needed to be, in the space between living and dying. I hold this to be the highest task of a bond between two people, that each should stand guard over the solitude of the other. I have thought and thought about this passage. This jolted me to a new perspective about love and my life as Martin's partner. I believe I honored a part of Martin's solitude as he reconciled leaving this life and all that he loved. I grew to realize that this was a responsibility I held throughout all of our years together. Now I want to live this honoring practice for others in my life. What I have experienced over the past months has led to a commitment deep inside me to experience the events in my life as invitations. I want to accept them in a way to extend me in a new direction, to grow in my patience, to grow in my ability not to judge, to grow in my ability to love. That is the possibility we all have, to weave this practice of invitation into our daily lives.
Our program theme, as you have learned for this month, is to live into the invitation. I, for one, have enjoyed considering how this differs simply from giving or receiving an invitation. Today, we are inviting you to dig a little deeper, to immerse yourselves with greater intention to each different invitation we receive. My personal invitation to you today is to consider how starting over and beginning again can refresh and soften your lives. I'll start by considering sleep, wondrous sleep, and its remarkable potential. Mark Nepo speaks of, quote, slipping into the waters of sleep so that the small light of the beginning can rise in us again and again. What an invitation. Slipping into the waters of sleep, I love that. I'm not sure I slipped into the waters last night. Allowing the light of beginning to rise again. It's beautiful. Lately, I enjoy the luxury of slow mornings, mostly in silence. Perhaps I meditate or do a little yoga. I start my days savoring beginnings, the newness of daylight, the fresh perspective I have. Whatever happened yesterday is behind me, the good and the bad. Sleep generously gives me a new perspective that is softer, more allowing, and kinder. I feel open. Mornings indeed bring me a fresh slate, energetically and psychologically. I'm starting over and beginning again. So I invite you to consider how starting over can give you a fresh perspective on yourself and the challenges you face, just as mornings do. For instance, a little tool that I use comes from the form of, quote, hitting my own internal pause button when I face problems or stress. I can slow down and take a breath. Instead of reacting, I can pause and take time to collect myself quietly. This alone helps me to find a way to be kinder and more thoughtful. I, for one, occasionally land in an unexpected argument with my partner. Caught surprised, I've been known to shoot back an angry statement that has little value other than its sting. If I can catch myself, I try to slow down. The beauty of pausing, not saying anything, is that I have a blessed moment to breathe slowly and consider. Do I really want to react with more anger? Is the other person hurt and am I misunderstanding them? By stopping and pausing, there lies the potential for a paradigm shift away from arguing. Then there are the moments when I feel discouraged. For instance, when I baked a carrot cake that completely sagged. Total failure, company was coming in an hour. Or when I've tried my hand at sumi painting, and each attempt with my brush and ink looks terrible. At every corner, things seemed to fall apart. I've felt tempted to give up, self-criticism eager to jump in and have a word with me. But when I'm at my best, I hope to take a breath and stop. I have been known to go outside and take a walk around the house, or sit still in quietude. Definitely I can lie down for a moment. By pushing my pause button, I can change my attitude, my internal energy, and make room for my kinder, more accepting self to emerge. Could I have this slide, please, Catherine? So speaking of mistakes, I have a little story to tell you from the great gardener. In a moment, you will see a picture of a sweet basket of potatoes. Now, it's not quite here yet. It should be. It was there. Huh? We have to dig them up, right. We have to dig up the picture. Oh, well. So imagine oh, there you go. So, you know, I haven't grown potatoes in a number of years, and I thought, this year I'm gonna do potatoes. It sounds great. So I put them in their spot, I watered them, did all the things you're supposed to do, and the day finally came, and I thought, oh, great, I'm gonna dig my potatoes. I love harvesting potatoes. It's like Christmas. You just get in there and you just keep pulling, and more come up, and more. So I just filled this wonderful basket with potatoes, and I was like, I feel so good. And some of you know I love to grow onions, and I grow a lot of onions. So what I do with my onions is I lay them out in the sun to dry them and get them ready, and I thought, well, I'll do the same with my potatoes. And I'll just put them right next to my onions, and they'll dry off, and then I'll be fine. 2 days later, 90% of those potatoes were brown. And I cut them, and they were brown all the way through. It's called oxidizing. Have you ever heard of the root cellar? That's where my potatoes belonged, not out in the sun. So I lost my whole harvest. It's like, ah! Anyway, that's a classic mistake that I won't do again. And I obviously had time to pause and think about it. So you can take it down. The great mythologist Joseph Campbell tells us that, quote, "Where you stumble, there your treasure is. Where it seems most challenging lies the greatest invitation to find deeper and greater power in ourselves." Campbell is inviting each of us to stop and begin again, to translate our stumbling selves, filled with mistakes, into kinder, more loving people. Carl Jung once said that he began considering God, quote, all things which upset my views, plans, and intentions, and changed the course of my life for better or worse. He is calling divine that power which disrupts everything. Are these my moments of God when my cake fails, my potatoes die, and my art project looks terrible? Oh my, this definitely necessitates that I ditch my critic and dig deep to find more inner kindness. Is it possible for me to welcome everything that challenges my perspective and upsets my plans? That is one tall order for me. Jung is indeed saying that the divine is that power which disrupts everything. We're all invited to bring forward our best selves in the most difficult situations. This, my friends, is starting over. I suppose we're talking about patience and grace, finding a soft place of acceptance for the problems we encounter in our daily lives, and making room internally for our deeper and greater powers to be thoughtful and intentional. So I invite us all to live into reconsidering the difficulties we face in our daily lives, moment to moment. Perhaps we can reframe them from bad to good opportunities and see them as our practice to be wiser, kinder, and more accepting. I invite you to start over, begin again. Each breath opens us to our best selves, our internal goodness.
Good morning. I'm sitting here with Sylvia beside me before the service starts, and she turns to me and she says, "Aren't we so lucky? Sunshine out there, our wonderful friends in here." I don't remember everything she said, but it was great to hear her say that. By now, you all know that our theme for this month is invitation. We do a little, when we get together to start planning our program, we do a little just word association kind of thing. You know, what does invitation mean to me? What does it what comes to my mind when we say that. I surprised myself by saying invitation in, invite in. What does that mean? Inviting in. Maybe this is the time to say that, Donna, Donna really invited us in, and so did Beth. But I know Donna, and I know these last 2 years, and wow, we really got invited into some important stuff that I hope I can keep in mind. And also Beth's, to remember to take that breath instead of spouting off. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my script. For me, inviting in means inviting others into our lives. At first, it might mean inviting somebody to go have coffee with you. And, you talk about politics and sports, and I don't know what women talk about, but they find plenty to talk about. Little things, politics and sports. And then, maybe you invite somebody for coffee, and then things get better, and you know them better, and you invite them to dinner, and then if you have things really get close, you may start confiding in them, things that you don't normally talk about. And I was going to try to avoid this term because it's kind of a psychological term, but it's called self-disclosure. You start opening up to the other person and sharing, your hopes, your fears, maybe even the things that you're not too proud of, but you need to get them off your chest. As the relationship grows, our conversations become more and more intimate. If we're lucky, and maybe lucky isn't the right word, if we play it right, our connection grows stronger, and we entrust them with our most private hopes, fears, and disappointments, and whatever else. I have a neat little exercise that illustrates this point, and if I had known that I could put it on a slide and show it to you, I would have done that, but I wasn't aware of that, so I don't have it. But I'm going to just describe it to you, and I think you can visualize this. First, you draw a target. You know what a target is? Like what you throw darts at, or there's a bullseye in the middle, and then there's a ring around that, and there's another ring around that, there's another ring around that, and then that's it. I usually miss all of those rings, and my dart ends up in the wall behind it. So the idea here is that this is the way that you let people into who you are with this target. First, you work your way in to the middle. And I think it's called small talk starts out there in that outer ring. And then you move in, you start getting more intimate, more clear, and then you may, if you're lucky, and probably with very few people, you get to that inner ring, that inner circle, which is the bullseye. And I call the bullseye heart talk. Where you get down to that heart talk, the hard things that you need to talk about. And I want to, Donna, that was so courageous to talk to us at that level this morning, brought tears to my eyes. That's one of the things that I really cherish about this group. I'm really throwing my script away. But here's the thing. If you could make one of those targets, and I invite you to do this when you get home on your own, Make a target like that. Heart talk in the middle, small talk on the outer ring. Now, here's the good part. Here's the interesting part to this. Start thinking about the people in your world, people that you know, that where would you put them on this target? Where have you got to with them in your conversation, in your interactions? And I think you'll find that you could put a dozen people, maybe more, on that outer ring, and only 2 or 3 people on that inner circle, the bullseye, the heart talk level. So my invitation to you is to take a little time on your own and do that. We could do it here, but it would take too much of our time. So that's my invitation to all of you. Let's see. Yeah, so do you have anybody in the bullseye? How many people do you have that you've opened up to that deeply? Probably some people in your family, hopefully, and maybe a few friends. There's lots of ways you can use this model. I'll leave it up to you to figure out what you could do with this. Okay. Back to the script. I love this congregation, because it fosters connection, fosters self-disclosure, inviting intimacy at every level. We do it by having our social hour after the services. We do it by hosting and joining others in the dinners that we have at people's homes, in our women's and men's groups, and here in any way that we do. Our Mystery and Wonder team has a self-disclosure session every time we meet, because we check in. Beth is our leader, and she wisely has us do a check-in before we start working on what we're doing, and that way we know where everybody else is at as we start. It's a form of self-disclosure, probably pretty close to that, often pretty close to that center bullseye. The most important glue that bonds us to each other, I think, is the unique ritual of joys and concerns. And I've been in a number of different churches and different denominations. Nobody else that I know of, besides the Unitarians, has joys and concerns. And I love it. I love the way it brings us together. You know, we share what's going on with us, whether it's happy or sad, and I've done it, and I look out into the audience, and we respond to that. We respond to each other. Let's see. We invite each other into that bullseye, that heart level intimacy. So my invitation to you, besides making a target, that's what I said. So my invitation to you is to actually make your own target and see what you learn about your relationships. That's it. Thank you.
So you could start putting my visual aid up. We might have to turn off the lights a little bit to be able to see it, but at CBEC, the retreat that we had, the UU retreat we had this summer, I participated in an activity, one of the activities we have planned. And it was simple, contemplative, no expectations, just cut and paste. The activity was called Soul Collage, and it was led by Catherine Henderson. We chose a figure and also a background from a box of images that she supplied, and we created dreamlike, archetypal cards, kind of like tarot cards, like this. So let's see, and that's one up there. We then asked our cards what message they had for us, as if we're interpreting a dream and connecting to our inner symbolic world. This simple exercise unexpectedly kind of opened a door for me, and I invited mystery to come in. Not the big, overwhelming, scary, unknown, out there kind of mystery, but the quiet, contemplative, small, inner kind of mystery. And in turn, mystery invited me to explore the hidden wisdom inside myself via these cards. So from the pile of pictures, I chose this image of an older woman. You can't quite see it, but she's holding like a teacup. And I felt I wanted to be like her because she seemed so comfortable and inviting. And then next I chose this background that was a big red door with a keyhole and a giant doorknob, a white doorknob. And it looked like a big full moon. So when I cut out the figure of the woman and glued it to the background, it looks just like a giant moon. And one of the things I found when I was putting the card together was that if I put her on the right side of the doorknob, it looks like she was opening that door. And then if I put her on the left side of the doorknob, it looked like she was closing the door. And then I realized she was doing both. So the next step, what you do in the soul collage activity is you ask the image, "Who are you?" She replied, "I am the doorway to the future. I am the one who has doors that you can choose to open or choose to close. And I invite you to pause and have some tea. Enjoy where you are at this moment in time." I really needed to hear this advice at this point in my life. As I looked to the future and back at the past, I felt like I was meeting my own wisdom in this card. And I found a poem that totally explains how that meeting felt. "You will greet yourself arriving at your own door in your own mirror, and each will smile at the other's welcome." The poem's called Love After Love by Derek Walcott. We connect with mystery through feelings, not thoughts. And while choosing these images and making this card, I put aside my thoughts and trusted my heart and intuition to guide me. Mystery invites us to inhabit our lives more fully. For me, mystery kind of fills in the edges of my life, the unknowing places. It reminds me that I don't need to explain wonder. Mystery invites me to let go and trust. It makes me humble by reminding me that I don't have control. Life is not a problem to be solved, but a mystery to be lived. This is Kierkegaard's invitation to let mystery into our lives. The soul collage experience became a practice of invitation. This whole theme about invitation talks about a practice of invitation. It gave me time to pause in my busy thoughts of everyday life and open up to mystery and hear the wisdom of this card that I created. It's my own inner wisdom that I was hearing. And then after this soul collage activity, I saw this bigger picture. And I had an epiphany about our community and about all of us. An epiphany I hesitated to use that word because it sort of seems like it's religious and overwhelming, but when I read this description of epiphany, it was perfect. An epiphany is a sudden realization of a significant truth, usually arising out of a commonplace event. And I thought, that's perfect. It was this little small experience of inviting mystery into my life that really broadened my awareness and appreciation of this place that we come to on Sunday mornings. I realized that this space and this community is a wider practice of invitation. We're one big, giant, open invitation. An invitation can also be a spiritual experience, an act of deep, open-hearted hospitality. We don't come here to control or convince. This openness is what attracted me to Unitarian Universalism. Reverend Michelle Collins says, "We are not only welcome to, but are invited to find and name our own beliefs, and that no one is telling us what they should be." I was reading some more about exercises in the practice of invitation, and these words really stood out to me. It's one thing to analyze a theme. It's quite another to experience it. By pulling us out of the space of thinking and into the space of doing, these exercises invite us to figure out not just what we have to say about life, but also what life has to say to us. So that describes the practice of invitation that simple soul collage exercise showed me on a small personal level. And it also describes what we do and experience here in our congregation during our services. Collectively, we practice extending invitations to others and sharing the many invitations the universe offers us. So, how will you practice invitation in your life? So, the invitation I extend to you this morning is to ask for a little mystery to come into your life and see what you learn.
I just have to sort through all the papers. Thank you for coming down this path with us. Let's hold a moment of contemplation and worship in a generous and abundant silence.
Just want to tell everybody, this tune is from the 17th century Ireland. It's called Give Me Your Hand. Give me your hand.
We are very lucky people. We'll now pause the remain unexpressed and are held in our hearts. Please join us as you feel comfortable in singing There Is a Love. If you don't know it, it's easy to pick up. Just so this is the time for our offertory. As members and friends of the Unitarian Universalists on Vashon, we commit to supporting our congregation, and the financial resources help us pay speakers. We are unpaid. And staff, support our social justice programs, and maintain our building. So please support VIUU with your pledges and offerings so that we can continue to be a vital community. And our congregation engages beyond these walls for peace, social, and economic justice. And this year, we actually established a fund of thousands of dollars that we're going to distribute in our community to support these needs. And I just wanted to say that's part of where our money goes. Once a month, we contribute financial offerings to a regional, national, or international organization that aligns with our values, but this week it is supporting our beloved community. So if our greeters could come up, and as we do the offering, receive our offering, we're going to also sing, and this is We Give Thanks, and this is also something you can pick up easily.
Having listened to our thoughts and words, how will you weave the practice of invitation into your daily life? How will you start over, begin again? Will you invite in intimacy and connection with others? Invite mystery into your life? Will you practice seeing every moment and every situation as an invitation to love?
I think that's an invitation to practice. Thank you, everyone who's contributed to making this service possible. Catherine has been our important person with our visualizations we've had today. And for the team that set up our suites and did all the setting up here and the flowers, and for Kat, thank you so much, everybody. And join us if you can for refreshments. I have to run out of here because Erin is my niece, and her brother's getting married this afternoon, and I have to go put tablecloths on tables. If you have an announcement to share that's specific to our activities, VIUU activities, please come up and share it. Then after that, we'll have our musical posted. I think that is on the agenda.
Well, the good news is that we have run out of Get Out the Vote postcards because so many people like you have been writing postcards. Jackie O'Malley generously has brought with her all these stamps for postcards. Who would like them? If you can raise your hands, I will pass them around. Thank you, Jack.
Thank you, thank you. I have a minute and
Hi, my name's Catherine. I'm with Program Committee. I'm here to give a teaser for next weekend. We're lucky that there's 5 Sundays in September, so our invitation theme is continued on. Please join us next Sunday. We're welcoming Reverend Carla Prine, and our musician will be Kat again. The theme, or the title is There Is a Love, and it's our Blessing of the Animals service. So you are invited to bring an animal if it does well in an enclosed space with lots of people. Or if it doesn't, bring a picture of your animal, and we'll have a table up here for you to put your picture on. Also, another plug for the National Day of Remembrance. The actual day is Monday the 30th, but we're gonna start it off on Sunday. So please wear your orange shirt. Please tell your friends. Go to Granny's if you need an orange shirt. It's remembering the boarding school children that did not make it home. So hope to see you next Sunday.
So I'm best at one-off sorts of things lately, and so I was thinking about how I could support our community. And while Granny's is great, I also like the idea of a less crazy shopping experience around the holiday times. And so I was kind of thinking about community garage sale kind of thing, where if you have gifty type items, things of value that you would like to donate, and we could set up like a little shopping experience as we have in the past in early December for upcycled gifts kind of thing. I'm looking for a few people that might want to help with that, gather ideas, get some enthusiasm around it to see if we really want to do it. I think I've queried about a garage sale in general. I'm kind of making it more human, not so big, because we do want stuff to go to Granny's. But anything that doesn't sell here would go to Granny's, so just know that. But if you have interest in participating, either donating or helping to get it set up, making sure that I'm thinking of everything, I'm looking for a good few helpers so that we can get it on the calendar and make it real. So thank you. I'm easily gettable. If you don't see me here, people know who I am. You can call or email. You can't bug me too much. It's okay. So thanks.
I'm Ted, and this message is really for the mental and emotional support of our congregation. We all need a few laughs these days. You know, I understand that there's a rather tense political situation in this country right now. So there is something going on this afternoon that can help alleviate that. And it's called church. And it's over at the O Space. and it is just fantastic. I mean, you will be rolling in the aisles because it is so funny. And all the jokes, it's kind of like the Prairie Home Companion, but just for Vashon. And all the jokes are local, so there's a show at 4, there's a show at 7, so, you know, I know a number of UUs go to it, and I know the UUs who go to it end up being our most joyous UUs. So all of you come, it's really fun.
Now, second what Ted just said too, this is really a great fun entertainment at the old space. Yeah, 4 o'clock and 7 o'clock today.
I just wanted to let you know that there's actually going to be a service about soul collage as a spiritual experience, and it's going to be October 20th. So if you are intrigued, come. And it's Catherine Henderson who's going to do it.